Hey everybody, and welcome back to Fresh Set. I'm Sabrina,
And I'm Kevin.
and we are struggling today for some reason,
It's the hour of
but
the day.
we're
We're getting a
here.
late start.
Yeah, we're here. It is late. It's late considering we were up at whatever 1 o'clock in the morning to watch a race, and which
And
was
this is
delayed, and then
and this is
we're
gonna
just
be out in a couple
delusional.
hours. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're just a little delusional today. All good though.
It was a sake.
Well, it was the sake. Well, it was the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend. Uh, Lots to talk about. Even
Yeah.
before the race even started, lots to talk about. But I guess we can jump right in.
Yeah, there was quite a bit from just from the outset. So this was a race that a lot of teams brought upgrades, or what seemed to be upgrades, which is, we'll talk about Aston Martin seemingly going backwards again.
Yeah.
Red Bull brought a new inlet for their cooling system, which I don't think know if they needed anything, but apparently this was in development before, but it worked. It was working. Alpine,
Alpine.
Alpine.
It's a good one, Alpine.
It was a cross between Alpine and Albon and
Alpine.
Ocon, and yeah. So they brought a new front wing and some lighter components, which, I mean, I guess they've improved slightly comparatively.
Still bottom of the constructors.
Still terrible. But a lot of teams did. I think McLaren did as well. Aston Martin only brought it to one car, which was Lance's car. And then they had a different setup, and Lance was complaining. I sent you a meme before, and he went through puberty on a turn somewhere. But he was not happy. He had no straight line speed. He was just getting beat. And you could big difference between him and Alonso at the end of it.
Yeah. I thought it was funny. That was probably the only radio we did hear of Lance.
Yeah.
And it happened to be that one. And it's like, I mean, what do we expect? It kind of just sounded like a bratty kid. It sounded like, and again, maybe it's the voice cracking, but
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt that he was going through like a high speed turn or something, and he was cutting it close with somebody else. Maybe he just his nuts retreated back in because he was scared a little bit. But I know it's weird. I don't understand where they bring upgrades and it just makes it worse. So
it's also
if
interesting.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and I mean it's also interesting that the changes were brought to his car when Fernando has been doing well, and maybe that's why they're wanting to test it on Lance's car first.
Don't want to mess with what's working.
Yeah, not that Lance hasn't been doing well, but Alonso's been more in like those higher up fights. So,
well, he's supposed to have it for China. They did say they were bringing it, obviously, but yeah, he was.
2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah, and so maybe they can see if they can change anything before then.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah. One of the other big, is it an upgrade? I mean, Albon got a chassis. Sargent got his car, not his car, but a car back. Yeah, a repaired
the
car.
Broken car.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it's repaired.
It's repaired, but I thought like if something happened that was a result of like this repair not going well, and he was, I mean, nobody, whether it was either they were injured, either one of them were injured, but to put him in a car, if something had happened, that would have been the end of half that team.
Yeah. And I mean, I did see an interview, I think it was with Will Buxton and James Vowles at the end, and they were kind of talking about China, and Will kind of said, like, made the comment of, like, hopefully you have two working cars by China. And James didn't seem so confident in
Well,
that
they
answer
I don't
or
think they
that
were
question.
I don't
Sorry.
think they were planning on it. I think he knew for sure that they wouldn't have it. I think it was a maybe by China,
Yeah.
but it was a slim maybe. Everything that
Yeah.
I had read anywhere, it was more likely going to be Miami or the race after Miami, where
Yeah.
they would finally have a third chassis. Um,
Well,
well, now they're gonna
well,
have to.
like I was just gonna say, now we have, for anybody that doesn't know, and we kind of talked about it on our last race podcast. Um, when how did it go? When Alex crashed
Well, hold up.
in
Before we get into that, hold on.
okay.
Before we get into the crash,
Okay.
before we get into the crash, I mean, Sargent does get this chassis back, and then immediately proceeds to put it into the wall in FP1. And by his own admission, like everybody saw it, but it nothing happened.
Uh,
He wasn't paying attention to where he was going. He ran off onto the grass and lost the car. And he even said, like, that was a stupid mistake. And he looked so with the helmet on and everything. You can see how dejected he looked. Like he was looking down. He had his hands in his face in his
yeah.
hands. He was just like, like of all days to happen, the first day I get a car back, and
The
I just put it right
first day.
so
But I
bad,
mean,
badly enough that he
it's
couldn't.
not his car.
It is now. It is. He's not getting it
Well,
back.
he's
He's,
stuck with
he's
it
not.
now.
Yeah. So,
So,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
badly enough, he destroyed his suspension, his rear wing. He wasn't able to run an FP2, um,
Yeah.
and then put
So
it.
Williams currently has two badly damaged chassis. Just we're gonna put it out there.
Well, currently, yes, yeah, it came out that after turn two, that they're sending another car back, um, back to wherever it is, Milton Keynes or not Milton Keynes, anyways, wherever in England, um, to get repaired again because Albon destroyed it again. Well, we can talk about it now, I guess.
Yeah, we
Yeah, yeah,
can
yeah.
go right
Okay.
into it. I mean, I so we had the race starts. Awesome race start for Max. I mean, I messaged you right
Nice.
away. I think I posted it on our Instagram. He had an amazing start. Like he was
Yeah.
already gone.
Gets away well.
Um,
No competition into the
yeah,
first or second
no,
corner.
not at
He was
all.
already like by the time that crash happened, he was probably about 3 car lengths ahead of Perez.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah, it was
pretty far.
wild. Yeah. And then we have, I always kind of watch like the background. I'm watching the cars on the back to see what's happening there. And then you just saw somebody go off in the back, and I saw the blue, and I was like, "Oh my god, Logan!
Oh.
Oh my god,
No,
Logan!"
I thought I saw an RB and I thought, "Oh my god, not Yuki." I was pulling for Yuki all
That
weekend.
too.
I wanted him to get a
That
point.
too.
I wanted him to have a good showing. I wanted him to beat Ricardo, and
Yeah.
when Ricardo's out of the race, it's pretty easy. It
It's
seems like
pretty easy to beat
as
him.
long as you don't destroy your own car, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So turn or the second coming out
going
of the
into two,
second corner. Yeah. Or
going into turn two.
yeah,
Yeah,
going into turn two. It's still kind of a little unclear whose fault, if we want to call it a fault, it was. Everybody kind of seems to think it was a racing incident. FIA stewards,
yeah.
yeah, it kind of chalked up to a racing incident.
I think it was
Um,
two poor decisions by both drivers, and it was kind
yeah,
of just like Albon. He had this, but he barely had the space. I mean, he was starting to
barely.
run on the grass. You know, Ricardo didn't really see him come up on the side, and he mentioned it to him. He's kind of apologized to Alex afterwards. He didn't
Yeah,
see him. He was just trying to make that turn, and
yeah,
pushed out. And Alex
and
had nowhere to
yeah,
go, nowhere.
yeah. And I mean, Daniel was also looking for Stroll, I think it was, coming up on his left.
But
He was more concerned about that side, but it's the whole
I
thing was kind of weird.
I
Really
rewatched it
quickly.
and I didn't see Stroll kind of make a jut out that way. So I think maybe he was anticipating something,
Yeah, that's what
possibly.
I'm maybe thinking. Um, two cars into the wall, which caused immediate yellow flag, and then we got a pretty quick red flag as well.
which
The red
which
flags
which had to piss George off.
pissed.
That red flag, and it was the right call because they had to fix the barriers and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's a result of George complaining all week, and actually all the drivers kind of weighing in, which was funny because after the George incident, I mean, you know how I felt about it, but it was
Well, we all know.
it was pretty split between the drivers, right? A lot
Yeah.
of them thought Alonso was brake checking, which I wouldn't
Mhm.
call it at that's extreme to call it a brake check.
Yeah.
Lift off and lose 30 kilometers an hour, fine. And George even admitted he was looking down. I'm not going to get into,
Mhm.
I won't get too deep into it.
Gonna get you gonna get you mad.
Yeah, it is. But it was pretty split between the drivers on whether that was who was at fault for that.
Yeah.
But everybody seemed to agree that it should have been red flagged right away.
Yeah.
Right? And so,
So,
um,
I mean, we saw this red flag come very quickly.
yeah,
Like, the drivers weren't even I think Daniel was already out of the car, um,
yeah,
but
probably,
it
yeah,
it was almost, like, immediate that we had that.
yeah.
It was, like, yellow and then just automatic red, and again, for everybody that remembers, red flag means race is halted, everybody
Back to the pit.
uh, back to the pits, they can get out, they can walk around, they can go to the bathroom, they can
Well, they have
cool
to.
off.
It's. I think because every driver was asking, "Can I get out now?" So I guess I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what the process is. There must
Yeah,
be
they probably have
something.
to wait.
I think it's when they. I don't know if it's a certain time limit or if somebody says, "Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a longer wait. You can get out of the car."
Yeah.
Right? FIA.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, the crash looked really bad.
Yeah.
I'm surprised both of them popped out really quickly. Everybody was okay, which is always good. You know, we immediately hear all the other drivers saying, "Are they okay? Are they okay?"
Yeah.
Suzuka is very sensitive for a lot of the drivers on the grid. They've had friends previously pass away. Jules Bianchi um, passed away 10 years ago,
Yeah.
actually, in an accident. Or, sorry, he had an accident at the track of the Suzuka track. Um, and he passed away months later due to complications from the accident.
Yeah.
So I think immediately all of them kind of go any track, they all kind of go into panic mode when they see an accident and when they see a red flag.
Yeah.
So
And it's a
um
high speed track too, right? You're
yeah.
you're you're more susceptible to some kind of injury in something like
Yeah.
that if you do crash.
Yeah, and I mean for the both of them to walk out perfectly fine.
Yeah. Shake hands
That's
after.
always good. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um but more damages for Williams, more money for Williams.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting what the next 2 weeks does for them and does for both of their cars. Like they're not even able to grow and fix or and make any sort of adjustments to their car because they're fixing everything that's happened in these first 4 races.
Yeah. And now they're gonna have to pay more out of their cost cap to get this thing back to England.
Yeah.
They're gonna pay a crap ton to people working overtime to get this thing
Yeah.
done in time for China. Because it's not like you got to think like they built this season or scheduled this season around like efficiency and cost and everything, and you're going from Japan to China, hop, skip, and a jump away, and all of a sudden you got to
Nope.
take your car back to England and back to Asia twice.
Yeah. And still find time to get that third chassis ready.
Yeah, and it was
Um
Albon again. I mean, I pull for Albon. I like Albon, but he I he put himself in a really dangerous spot where he had nowhere to go. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I've
It's
suddenly is he the favorite child now? Does he come back if they're not going to have if they don't have the chassis ready for China? Or for whatever reason, because their development has been slowed down now, or their production's been hampered down because of these fixes, and they're not able to have something for Miami, and they can only run one car for whatever reason, do they choose Albon over Logan?
I think he is the devil, um, where Logan is so you never know what's gonna happen. He finished the race today,
Yes,
which is a plus.
that's a plus. After a crash in
um,
FP1, it still cost them some money. And
yeah,
that's the thing. Like now, Albon has basically cost Williams
million bucks.
almost, yeah, $1 million probably. Um, but almost about halfway, maybe a little more than halfway of what Logan cost them. Or no, did Logan cost them over 3 last year? No, it was 1.75, I believe it was. Wasn't
Mhm.
it? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like he's getting up there, and it's only 4 races in. We're only a
Yeah.
sixth of the way through the season.
Yeah, we haven't gone anywhere, guys. We've barely scratched
Jeez.
the surface. Um, I don't know. I don't I think they would put Albon in the car.
So you're James.
Uh,
You're James. You've got to make these very public
James,
posts.
it's Valtteri.
Yeah, you gotta make this very public post that Williams, which I love their transparency, but you gotta make these very public posts now on your Instagram, trying to justify one or the other. Who you're choosing. Is it still a
Oh,
data driven? Because data
I
wise,
think
recency bias.
if it's me, I'm going on track record and history, and I'm putting Albon in the car.
You're just
Sorry,
gonna
if
yes.
I'm James, I'm putting Albon back in the car. History data from last year, because data from this year not great. Data from last year, I'm putting Albon in the car. If it's me as team principal, I'm putting Logan in the car. Just because
Just
you can't do it. You
you can't do it to him
cannot do it
twice.
twice in 3 races. You
Yeah,
can't.
it's who
I mean, but James Vowles can be ruthless.
he
So,
can, and I don't disagree with you. It's going to be a completely data driven again
absolutely.
decision. So I think yes, if
Yeah.
for whatever reason they can only put out one car on a race, it's going to be Albon. But man, it's just
They should just put them both on timeout and we'll put their reserve driver in
that's not a
and
bad idea.
we'll
Put Kimi
right?
Antonelli in for a weekend. Why not?
Right?
I mean,
Why
he
not?
can't do any worse.
He can't. He
Can he?
can't.
No, he can't. He can't.
He goes in and gets P10.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And
Imagine.
then they only run 1 car from now on, that's it with him.
Yeah.
And keep that
Just
the second one as a spare chassis. Uh,
yeah. They forget the third one
forget it. What
completely.
you don't even need it anymore.
I don't have the money
Oh,
for
man.
it.
Jeez. Yeah, interesting.
um
But
yeah, so
interesting to come out of that too, though, is, I guess was no, when Logan put it into the wall, we're seeing, the floor upgrades that Williams has brought to this year. I don't think they've
mhm.
had a floor upgrade unless they brought one this weekend, to, to
It's just not
Suzuka.
on properly.
Yeah, yeah, they just got rid of it.
That's
Just a lot of
yeah.
airflow. No, but a lot
Yeah.
more complication from what we saw, I think was last year. Last year, the year before, where it's basically just like a flat board. There was no innovation. There
Yeah.
was no probably no money for it. I mean, their L
Yeah.
budget would probably suck. Uh, but it's yeah, it looks like kind of James's hand in all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I think I really hope that they can figure it out. I think you in your predictions need them to figure it out, right? I can't remember where you predicted they would fall,
yeah. I
but
think it was like 7th.
yeah, I
It's
think
not
you need
looking
them
good. It's
to
not
figure it out.
looking good.
I can't remember where I had them either, but I mean, hey,
We'll
it
put an update out
happens.
soon, but yeah, it's
Yeah, we should
yeah.
mid-season. 4 races in, we need to update
Jeez.
everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so after that red flag, of course, we then have the restart, which was a standing restart. Again, Max takes off beautifully, does what he's supposed to do, and he's gone. Um, Ocon in lap 4 actually mentioned that Gasly bumped him. And he said it
Oh,
so nicely. He said it
was that
so
only in lap
nicely.
4?
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
sorry. It would have been lap.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was lap
6 or
4.
something like that or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he's like,
Just yeah,
he
that's the
said
other thing. Just for
Gasly.
anybody who doesn't know, when we do have a race restart and you do that formation lap again before their standing start, that still counts as a lap. So
Yeah.
it's all
Yep.
to do with uh fuel levels, all that stuff. So yeah. But anyway, sorry,
Yeah,
go on.
it was just he bumped him and, typical again, I think I said it before, but I think they have worked out their team the disagreements between each other because when there are issues now, it seems a lot calmer, especially from Ocon's side. Um, Gasly's still a bit of a hothead,
Well,
but
I think it helped that Ocon stayed ahead or got ahead of him because he was
yeah,
behind him at that point. So I
yeah,
think if he didn't get ahead of him, uh,
yeah.
we would have had a different team radio. Um,
True,
it's
true.
probably the fact that they're saying, "Listen, I don't care. Just keep it out of the whatever gets dealt with in the back room."
Yeah.
And we're not going to be public about it. Uh, Looking back at that incident, I mean, Gasly was getting his elbows out a little bit.
Oh yeah,
Uh, he
yeah.
didn't want to be beat by his teammate, and especially not Ocon,
Nope.
which I completely agree with. It's good on you. You should have taken him out a little more, but you should have put a puncture in his wheel. But it's
Hey, it happens.
bad positioning of the
Um,
car, I guess.
right?
Yeah,
We had both Mercedes lose uh space, lose their spot, sorry, on that restart or in the first couple laps after the restart. They were on the hard tires
yeah.
after the restart, so they just needed to warm up. Um, did they really come alive? Not really. um,
No,
Russell was complaining, Lewis was complaining. Lewis offered to switch with George.
yeah. Which was I I heard that, and I had to, and then I rewatched it today, and I had to kind of rewind it again, and I'm like, I was trying to find something in his voice, which was
Me
like,
too.
it didn't sound like frustration. It didn't
Nope.
sound like it. It just sounded like, yeah, man, you take it, whatever. I'm not going to be here
Yeah.
next year. That's just,
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. And I did see in post-race interview, he did say that he thought he sustained some damage, so that's why he was gonna let him go through. Damage from what?
I don't believe that at all. Yeah.
Damage from what?
Damaged ego, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
like it was the most bizarre, and he was again so calm,
yeah.
so chill. It was just like,
And you
hey,
couldn't
if
even,
George wants to go past, and
yeah.
I just why?
You couldn't like they weren't like they were like a second difference or something like that. Like it wasn't close. I don't think he was in DRS at that time. It's just like, yeah,
No,
you want to let him go? Sure,
yeah,
whatever.
sure.
Yeah, no problem, man.
George,
Go.
have a nice Sunday drive.
It was
Like,
kind of like I'm not going to catch the guy in front of me. You know what? Just you give it a shot. Go ahead.
yeah.
It was
Just
so weird.
let
It was
George do it. Yeah. It was
for
really weird. I
all the
thought so.
yelling and finger pointing that we see on track. This was
Yeah.
the calmest and most bizarre team radio. It probably will
Yeah.
be for the whole year, other than
Yeah.
Lance's voice crack.
Well, I just think it's funny because when drivers get those team radios of like, Lando switch with Oscar, it's never taken well.
No,
Like, even if they know their car is damaged, they're like, I can do it. I can
and
do it.
you'll never see a driver suggest it
No,
unless
not
it's
at all.
something like, okay, eh, Perez is in first and Max is in second, and it's going to clinch Max the championship
Yes.
over another car, like on the
Yeah.
last race, maybe. But
Yeah.
you know,
It just didn't make sense. Didn't
no,
make sense at all,
no,
the
not
way
at
he
all.
was so calm about it, and so I just
We
thought it was really funny.
we did have a switch with the Ferraris later on, but they'd said
Yeah.
let them fight,
Yeah.
but they were on different strategies. I mean, Leclerc hadn't stopped; he was on a one stop strategy. He knew he wasn't going to defend against Sainz,
No.
so he kind of just let.
He got driver of the day though, and I think he drove
Oh, he drove that. I mean,
really well.
To put that into, was it fourth? Yeah,
Yeah.
fourth. On a one stop, he drove that really, really, and to get ahead of Norris too, right? So
Yeah. Managed his
yeah,
tires, managed the race, managed any and everything he needed to
yeah,
manage.
yeah.
He did an awesome job. I think he deserved driver of the day.
Oh yeah.
Um Obviously, driver of
Well, I think the only other one to me would have been Yuki, but I mean, you got to give it to that guy. Come on, it's voted on by the fans. I can say whatever the
his
hell I want. So
his one little point. I mean,
it's
you know
what
what? I'm happy he got his 1 point in his home race. I think everybody should get a point or a win in their home race.
No, that's crap. Come on. That's crap. There's too many British drivers. You're just gonna give 3 points everywhere.
Yeah.
Just no, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just out of no, no,
You just
no,
feel
no,
bad.
no.
I
That
mean,
makes
sorry. At one point in your career, it would be nice if you could get a
no,
win or a point
there's
in
no
your home
participation
race.
medals. We're not living. I know we live in a participation medal world, but
True.
no, no, it's a terrible idea. I'm sorry. No participation medal for that
Terrible.
idea.
Okay, fine. Fine. You just
uh,
have to race properly.
yeah. But no, I mean he had a great drive the whole weekend. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
he out qualified his teammate again, 4 in a row. Uh, he put himself into the top 10 in an RB, right?
Yeah.
And
But Daniel was what point or what was he? 4/100ths of a second behind, 4/10ths off
yeah, it was
in
close.
P11.
6/100ths actually.
Okay, sorry.
Um, yeah, no, it wasn't that far off. Wait, listen. At the end of the day, when it comes down to
Whatever
contract
it
time,
is.
you lost your teammate. Doesn't matter by how many
Yeah.
times, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then he drove well enough to get into the points. Yes, it was only one, but that's one more than 10 other drivers got.
It's true.
um,
It's
and
absolutely true.
and he didn't put himself into a wall. So
Yeah.
yeah,
We're just gonna leave it right there.
yeah,
Um, we did see, so we had, you said into the wall. So we had Daniel in an RB that was out. We had Williams, Albon and the
Albon. Yeah.
Williams that was out. And then we had Joe Guan Yu retire his car due to gearbox
Yeah.
issues. Kind of sucks for Sauber.
Did he retire because of gearbox issues, or did he come in for a pit and they just couldn't get the nuts back on, and they just wheeled him
They're just
back
gonna
into the
say,
garage? Yeah,
they're just like,
just,
forget it, guys.
this is we're not gonna have the embarrassment of a 50-second pit stop. We're just gonna put him in the
Yeah.
garage. Yeah,
And they just have to say gearbox just so it looks like it's something else.
yeah.
I mean, they had fantastic pit stops. Well done. Claps for Steak.
I mean, they had
mean,
their best pit stop of the season at 4 seconds. I wouldn't. Oh, that's
which for everybody
yes.
listening, 4 seconds is incredibly slow for a
Yeah,
pit
yeah.
stop.
That's when you have
However,
a problem off a good pit stop, you're at 2.3, 2.4 seconds average,
yeah.
right? A 4 second is like a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so I did pull up some things here.
Okay.
So
Let's hear
it's
it.
been floating around social media, but if you have Stakes total F1, 2024 um pit stops for 2 races, 7 stops, 100.01 seconds. Carlos
Well,
Sainz, put that comparatively. Carlos
I was like,
Sainz
we need
in
to
all of
compare.
2023, in 22 races and 34 stops, was under that in 98.414 seconds.
Wow. In all his races.
In all 22 races last year, Sainz 34 pit
Interesting.
stops had 2 seconds shorter than a
Well,
two races or 3 races or whatever it was for Stake.
well,
I mean, that's horrific.
it's horrific. However, we we have to take the small wins that we have now.
No, there's no
And
however. What? Okay, so I'm not okay. We're gonna go on to this now. I'm gonna read you every single one of their pit stops in the
okay.
before Japan. So we know we had the second stopper in Japan. I don't know
Okay.
what his second stop was, or what Zhao's first one. Did he have a first one, or did he go out before he had a pit
Uh
stop?
I
I
don't think
forget.
he changed his tires
Before he had the gearbox
in
issue.
the safety. No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, oh yeah, because they changed in the safety as well. So that would have changed
Mhm.
things. In Bahrain, Bottas had a 4.5 second and a 52.5 second pit stop. Zhao, comparatively, on their normal pit stop, had a 3 second pit stop and a 2.7 second pit stop. That's still slow.
Well,
That's still last of the grid.
yes. Yeah,
Okay,
it
Jeddah
is.
Jeddah Bottas had a 5.14 and a 3.62, and then Zhao
Interesting.
had only one at 28.7 seconds. And then in
So
Australia,
I
hold
was
on,
gonna
it gets better, it
say,
gets better. In
okay,
Australia, Bottas had a 3.63, which is slow, but
okay.
apparently average, for them, and a 31-second pit stop. And Zhao had a 3.4, again, their average, and a 20.20-second pit stop.
20,
They
20
had
seconds.
60 seconds of pit stops in Australia between the four pit stops.
That's
That's a lap.
considering
That's a
it
lap
that is a lap. You're
for one
absolutely
car.
right.
Right? Just
That
under a
is
lap,
one.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Like, considering, like, McLaren last year or Red Bull, like, they're in one race, they had what, the 1.9 or 1.8 second
that
pit
was
stop?
McLaren.
McLaren.
Yeah. They set the new
So,
record with the 1.80. Before it was Red Bull with 1.82 or something.
yeah, and, like, you think they could do 2 pit stops and be under 7
Yeah.
seconds
And
in an entire race. Like,
those are like that's a perfect pit stop, right? A perfect pit stop's
perfect
going to
pit
get you
stop, yeah.
1.8, right?
Yeah,
Everybody firing off at maximum efficiency. Um
yeah.
but they're getting a 3.6 or a 4 second, and everybody's fist bumping like, "Hey, we did a great job." Like,
This is awesome.
yeah, we did it.
I mean, I wrote it down, so
We
I was
didn't
giving
have
them
somebody yelling it.
their
I'm
credit.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
It's I did see in all the lead up, the drivers do all kinds of interviews. They have the driver panel, which we talked about, but I did see an interview with Red Bull, so it was, I think it was just Checo and Max. Yuki and Daniel weren't there, but they were asked about uh pit stops and can they feel the difference between a 2.5 and can they feel even like a 2.5 to a 2.8,
Oh, yeah.
and they both said they can literally feel it in the car because they can feel when all four wheel guns go on at the same
Oh, yeah.
time and it's like just floating and then dropping and then they're gone. But I just thought it was really interesting that they can actually, like, in, I mean, we know Max's mind just works brilliantly. But he's like, even he can tell when it's a 2.5. Like,
Oh,
without
yeah.
someone telling him, he can feel the
Well,
2.5
their
versus
whole life
whatever.
is tenths of a second, then hundredths of a second.
Yeah,
They know. So,
they know.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
especially when you come down to watching those lights go out and their reaction times, and they're practicing
Yeah.
that every single day, and they're in those pit stops practicing every weekend as well. They know.
Yeah.
They know. Like, as
And
soon as they're that foot where it wants to twitch and it can't because
yeah.
they know they can't go yet, they know.
Yeah. Well, there's, I mean, during preseason, Red Bull also did a pit stop in the dark. So,
They've also done it in zero gravity. Like, if
like,
these guys are insane. This is what they do. They
they,
practice pit stops all the time.
yeah.
And
I
now
mean,
it's
I
just pit
think
stops are just getting too boring for them, so they're just gonna go extreme. They're just gonna
they're just
go
gonna do
as a
anything.
bus flies over a gap or something like that. They're gonna do it in bus.
Yeah. Honestly. I mean, I think overall lots of undercutting. So I think this was a very, there was battles throughout the entire race. And a lot of those battles were actually on the pit walls.
Yeah.
And so you could see a lot of the strategy in this race, which is again very interesting to watch. And what made me very interested in you as well, interested in Formula One in general, is seeing all the strategy play out.
Yeah.
Um, so I did lots of undercutting, people coming in to, fight somebody else later on. Doesn't mean they're gonna lose their spot now, but in 10 laps or at the end of the race, they've got the better tires. So lots of that going on, lots
Yeah.
of racing in general.
And the pit stops,
Um,
that's down to like the speed of the track, right? They have a lot
yeah,
not they have a lot of corners, but they have a lot of high speed corners. So you can take that, you know, you build a little bit of a gap if you can, or sorry, you could be behind somebody by, a second or 2 seconds, make that pit stop and still make up those 3 seconds. Just coming back in your in lap, right? Or your out lap, sorry.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and that's really down to just the way that track is designed for speed.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something with that with the Suzuka track, which is actually what a lot of, I think you mentioned it earlier, a lot of the mechanics, the drivers, this is their favorite race.
Oh yeah,
Suzuka is a favorite race. It's always interesting. There's always something. The weather is unpredictable. Was it FP2 or 3 we had some rain
FP2. Yeah.
qualifying? Um, 2 years ago the track flooded.
Yep.
So and they were still racing.
And it's a
So,
multi-use track too. Like they use it for
yeah.
MotoGP, so like it's something that's got to really favor a lot of
Yeah.
different sports, right?
Yeah.
It's all motor racing, but like MotoGP is a very high speed, kind of intense racing circuit, right?
Yeah.
Or genre,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think overall good race. Do we need to say who won? Actually, I think we do because he didn't win the last go round. So,
Oh, he
Max
didn't list.
won.
Yes, he didn't win the last race. I was gonna say he won.
So,
What everybody's making a big deal because he won three Suzuka. He's the only other person to win three Suzukas in a row with Schumacher. I'm like, it's
yes.
not a record. I mean, let's give it up on records here. Okay, he won
Just making
three.
stuff
He run
up.
the same race three times in a row. It's who cares?
Kevin obviously does not like participation trophies or just fairness
No,
trophies.
no, no, no. I'm fine with. No, actually, no, I don't like that. But for the people that are calling this a record,
Yeah.
give me a break. It's not a record.
It's not.
It's
It's
not.
not. It's just
Give
he's won
record
it
for
3
something like an
times.
actual achievement.
Yeah, well, he's gotten all those, so
Well, yeah.
they're just
So they're just gonna try and give him
just
anything else now.
just
Like,
making
who
stuff
cares?
up. And you know what's funny? He doesn't
No,
care
he doesn't
either.
care.
So
It's
like
so dumb.
we can stop.
So dumb.
Um so we have a Red Bull 1-2 with Checo coming in second and Carlos coming in third.
Yep. Which
Uh
I didn't realize until he said it. Every race this year has been a 1-2.
yes, and
It's
this
been
yeah,
it's
and
been
Red
two Red
Bull's
Bull one
third.
twos, and then Ferrari 1-2, and then a Red Bull
Yeah.
1-2.
Yeah.
It's been
Wow.
really it's really weird.
It's good for our predictions though, because we said it was going to be Red
No,
Bull and
not
and
for
then
me. I need I
Ferrari.
need I need Charles to start taking some of those seconds.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Well, yeah. Well, I think Carlos is 100% podiums
Yep. Yeah, he's been on.
in 2024. He's been on every single podium. Well done. I mean, he needs to be on a
He's the only
podium
driver who's been on a
every.
podium every race. Because even
Yeah.
in Australia, Checo was fourth, fifth, something like that.
Yeah.
Because it was Lando on top of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carlos racing for his life this year,
Oh yeah.
and racing for his seat. I just saw before we got on that
The Toto thing. Was it Toto
no,
that said it?
I saw Checo said that he is going to know within the next
Oh
month
yes, yes,
about his 2025.
yeah.
I did see Max saying that Toto has been very nice
Yes,
to him
yes.
recently.
But Toto has also said that he has heard. I can't remember. Oh, he's heard things. No, sorry. Was it Toto? Or was it Will? Will Buxton. Sorry, Will Buxton was saying that, or was he talking to Toto? I can't remember. Yeah, sorry. He was talking to Toto. He said that he heard that there was a big driver signing coming up, probably coming up soon. Not for Mercedes, just in the paddock, somewhere in the paddock. And he seems to think that it's Sainz.
I think every team would be stupid if they were not looking at signs right now. He has been having, again, in 4 races, he's been having the year of his life.
I think he has the pick of whatever team he wants to go to. So
Yeah.
throw every other team away. It's going to be Mercedes or Aston Martin.
He met with Helmet. He met with Helmet
Oh yeah,
Marko
sorry.
the
What
other
am I
day.
saying? Red Bull as well. That's right. I forgot about that. I don't know why I forgot about that. Because I have Perez out of F1 by next year for our predictions.
You need to redo all of your predictions.
I'm sticking with it. I'm going to come out As long as I only have one person to beat, okay, it's you.
This is true. This is true. Um, yeah. So I think Carlos is the man of the paddock, and I think every team and every driver should kind of be a little any driver that's not signed for 2020 doesn't have a seat for 2025 with their current team.
Yeah,
I think everybody should be worried.
yeah.
Everybody should be worried
So now
that
that you mention
he's coming.
yeah, I think it's going to be Red Bull or Aston Martin actually. Because why would he go to Mercedes and drive for unless he just wants a placeholder before he goes to Audi?
Yeah, true. Okay, he goes to Aston Martin. Who are they dropping?
Well, that's the only thing. They're also waiting to see if Alonso's his decision on what he wants to do, which I guess he's in talks with other people as well. So who knows? I have no friggin' clue.
Although he said after this race, someone asked him if he is, in talks with Mercedes, and he said they're behind us. Why would I
Yeah,
talk to them?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. He's had some great quotes this week.
Such
It's
a Fernando answer,
yeah.
but
He
hey,
signs would probably
he's
I
not
would think
wrong.
he would probably go to Aston because they're getting unless if he's not planning on going to Audi, it would probably be them because they're getting the Honda engines in 2026.
Yes, that actually has come up a lot in just gossip
Yeah.
about Max and his future with Red Bull, because we know he likes a Honda engine.
Yep.
And could he be, there's all this talk of he'll go to Mercedes, he'll go wherever. Aston Martin is a probability for him because they're getting the Honda engine that he currently drives, which he loves.
And do you not think that
So,
Lawrence Stroll will just throw money at Adrian Newey and Helmut Marko and give
absolutely.
Max a $75 million contract to make sure he's the highest paid
Absolutely.
person on that grid? Yeah.
He would sacrifice his son
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
He'll
just
give him the
for that.
damaged chassis. That's fine.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure. For
um,
sure.
speaking about Alonso quotes, did you happen to see what he had said after the race? So
No.
when we had near the end of the race, there was all that. Well, I mean, which no everybody's giving Carlos Sainz tons of credit without actually saying Carlos Sainz, because now everybody's pulling the I'm going to leave DRS for the person behind me so that they can stay ahead of the rest of the
Yes.
train, and I'm not going to get pushed, right?
Yes.
So he was doing that, which miraculously, he would be a second and 1.2 ahead, and then as soon as he was hitting a detection zone, he would drop back, and who was it at that point? It was Piastri.
It's Piastri.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he all of a sudden he was 0.8 or 0.6 or whatever behind. Um, so somebody had asked him afterwards if that was intentional that he was leaving the DRS for Piastri. So he says, "I don't know what to say after Australia. Maybe they'll disqualify me from the championship if I admit it." Just because he
Poor
was lifting
guy.
off and coasting a little bit.
I mean,
He's had some great quotes this weekend.
he's again, I think I've said it numerous times. He's having fun.
Oh yeah,
He just doesn't care at this point. I think he cares, but he's just like in his own world, living his Fernando Alonso
yeah,
ninth life because hey, he can.
oh yeah. I mean, and he
It's just
should. I mean, he's Fernando.
he's Fernando. Um One other thing that I wanted to talk about quickly is Bernie Collins.
Yes.
If
Well, I have a
anybody,
comment about that too, but I want to save it for
oh,
another segment. Yeah, no, it's going.
okay. No, I was just gonna say, Bernie Collins is Bernadette Collins, is a strategist, analyst, former engineer, strategy engineer for
former,
Aston
yeah,
Martin.
yeah.
She is a genius.
Oh yeah.
Like, this woman
She was the
talks.
chief strategist, I think, for Aston Martin, was she not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was in charge of everything. Like, she was actually talking on another podcast about listening on the pit wall. And so she said in her ear and on her screens, she had Vettel in one ear and Stroll, I
Stroll.
guess,
Yeah.
in her other ear, and everybody else going.
Yeah.
And so she was able to keep, and I was like, how does this woman do this?
And not even just
But
that,
the
you have
way,
both of them on your ear, plus you're also looking at data, and then you're also looking
yeah,
at the track, and then you're looking at other people's data or getting somebody else
yeah,
to relay that information
someone
to you.
else is calling
Yeah.
into you. Like it's insane. Uh, but listening to her explain a lot of stuff this weekend was amazing. So if there's anybody that really wants to understand Formula One and the
From a
nitty-gritty
technical
of
stuff,
Formula
yeah,
One,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
technical,
very technical. It's
strategy,
very yeah.
analytical, uh, follow Bernie Collins. She is like phenomenal in
Yeah.
anything
Oh,
that
yeah.
she does and what she talks about. If you want a woman that knows what she's talking about, and I mean, a lot of times in the broadcast yesterday, you could hear Crofty and Brundle kind of being like, Bernie, can you confirm that? And it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
nice to see that they were like relying on her information because she knows what she's doing.
Oh, yeah, she's a wealth of knowledge.
So
She was picking out
yeah,
tire strategy, she was picking out, why a driver might have done a certain maneuver
yeah,
over another or made a choice to
yeah,
pit at this point or whatever. She was on it at all times, and she knew exactly
yeah,
what was going on, like, with everybody. It
yeah.
was amazing.
Like she was on
Yeah,
yesterday. I mean, she always is, but like yesterday, I feel like again there was a lot of strategy calls, a lot of pit wall.
but they really threw to
Um,
her a lot. They did, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I think they're just like, hey, you know what you're doing, and
yeah,
you can explain this better than any of us. So, if you're looking for more information, Bernie Collins on Instagram, follow her.
yeah,
And yeah, we want Bernie on the podcast as well at
absolutely.
some point.
Yeah, she
So
actually it was funny because they were throwing to her a lot more so than they usually do.
yeah,
At least it was more noticeable, anyways. And
yeah.
so they had asked her a question, and she had started to say something, and we got a 2 secs Bernie, and then but he apologized and he said sorry about that, and then they went into like the team radio, and I'm like, they have never ever apologized to Ted.
No,
They've
no.
never. It just, but he did. We got a 2 secs Bernie, and it was.
2 secs. 2 secs. Thanks. Yeah. No, I think there's, I mean, not that they don't respect Ted. I just think there's a lot of what they're asking for her of
Oh yeah,
her. I think takes a lot out of her as well. So, the apology was pretty funny. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was my bit on Bernie.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I maybe one or two more things, but surprisingly, this was Perez's first front row start since Miami 2023, which I didn't believe when I first heard it. Um, I had to go back and check, but yeah, like you're in that rocket ship. I mean, he didn't have a very great qualifying
He's
last
not
year.
in the rocket ship.
He's in a rocket ship. He's still in the same thing.
Yeah,
He's
kind
in the
of.
car. He's in the car. But he didn't have great qualifyings last year.
No, no.
This year he's been on it, except for in the front row. But,
Again,
but
I think
he's
he needs to be on it.
well. I think it's clicking for him this year for whatever reason.
Yes.
Whatever
Yeah.
was different from last year than it is this year,
Yeah.
because he was also, I think it was 12 seconds ahead of Science.
Yes. At one
One
point, at the
Or
end, I
maybe
don't
it
know if
was
it was.
less. Maybe it was less than that. But it was I mean, he was never in any danger, right?
No,
So,
no.
no, for whatever reason, he's been looking more true to form, like as he was before
Yeah. Last
at the
year was a
beginning of
tough
last
year
year.
for him.
Yeah,
Yeah, last year was a tough year for him for whatever reason, whether it was the
but
outside stuff
but only
or the
after like
car.
race 5 is where really started to lose
Yeah.
it. I think probably about that.
Yeah.
Well, because he had 2 race wins.
Miami.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was about
No,
Miami.
we
He
had
started
yeah,
to go downhill.
yeah,
So, well, Miami's in a couple of weeks, so hopefully he's on that upward trajectory again. He needs a seat, and he said he'll know in the next month. So
yeah.
maybe the next month, we'll see.
We did see some upgrades from also, I think it was Red Bull, like I said before. Did you see the
Mhm.
difference in qualifying that they had? So him and
I
Checo
did.
were in qualifying were like 6/100ths of a second. It wasn't a lot.
Yes.
He was almost 0.3 of a second faster than Leclerc, or sorry, Norris. And
Yeah.
then he was a second, 1.2 seconds faster than Yuki in 10th.
What
I
did you say? 1.3?
1.2. 1.2. He was
1.2.
almost half a second. He was almost half a second between Carlos, Fernando, Oscar, Lewis, and Charles. So I know that everybody's
Yes.
saying that Ferraris are a lot closer, but it's not that close. It's really not that close,
It's close enough.
and that's over one lap.
Over, yeah, I guess one lap.
That's over one lap. I mean, we saw it yesterday. I think he beat everybody he beat Checo by 14 seconds, something like
Yeah,
that.
12,
Yeah,
between 12 and 14
which
seconds over there.
means Carlos was probably about 20, somewhere between 20 and 25 seconds. I don't know why I did the Stevie Wonder there.
That's right.
um,
Oh
yeah,
god.
it's really not that close. If you give Max a little bit of room, I mean, in that car,
Well, and again, we have the situation of this race was 53 laps.
yeah,
What happens when we extend that to 73 laps?
yeah,
How great does that distance become of that 12 that's where we see the 12 seconds become 22-second
yeah,
lead.
yeah.
And so uh, can they get back there again?
I don't.
Max hasn't taken off. Like, there's parts in it, times in a race so far that he's gotten to those 21 seconds ahead, but I don't think in any of the races so far he's won by that.
No,
um he's into the teens. Sorry for him. He's into the teens of finishing races. But um do you think they'll get back up there of like him finishing?
I don't know because like the car is faster than it was last year. His qualifying was 0.7 faster than it was last year.
Yeah.
I
Seven
mean,
is
seven
that's
tenths.
fast.
Yeah, yeah, that's almost a second faster than
Yeah.
last year. It's nuts. So I don't know that. I mean, yes, okay. I think Ferrari is closing a gap, but I
Yeah.
think that gap was basically a barn door. So how, before, like last
Yeah.
year, right? Last year was a barn
Yeah.
door. It was wide open. There
Yeah.
was no way they were
Yeah.
going to catch them. So yes,
No.
maybe they've closed that gap a little bit, but it's not. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference.
No.
I think my predictions are going downhill, but
I will say I think the the Ferrari looks fast.
yes,
It's performing well.
I think the driver's
They've
performing well. I think the drivers are
Yeah,
pulling every little bit out of that car.
they have clearly figured out, and I'm gonna knock on wood here. They have clearly figured out strategy. They've struggled for 2 or 3 years with strategy. They have figured it out
Yeah.
to some degree. I think because they're letting the drivers make the strategy before. But they're figuring it out. Are they going to close the gap all the way? I agree with you. No, but with their upgrades that are bound to be coming in the next few races, I think they can. I think they are going to separate themselves from the McLaren, Mercedes,
Oh yeah.
Aston Martin. I think it's going to be Red Bull out on their own, Ferrari in their own little bubble, and then those other three kind of
Well, yeah,
fighting.
and I think you're seeing glimpses of that this weekend, right?
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
the
Yeah.
McLaren. I mean, yeah, okay, Lando qualified well, but he didn't really have a chance
No,
to secure that third.
no.
I was hoping he was, but it wasn't going to happen. So
Even Oscar, and I'm no Formula One driver, but you still
you
see
don't say.
Oscar's. You don't see you see Oscar's like little rookie mistakes still, um, he's taking the chances. It's just those oversteering a little bit, or taking a corner a little bit too wide, and that takes off time.
Yeah, and you
So
could see him get a little apprehensive when he's got somebody on his ass and is just
yeah, Alonso
yeah,
every single time.
maybe taking like a half a second too
Yeah,
long to make a decision.
yeah.
Doesn't work out for
Well,
him, whatever. But you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, when
those
you
are all
have
growing,
growing pains.
yeah, growing pains, growing situations, but
Yeah.
yeah,
You have the youngest guy on the grid being chased by like the oldest bull
yeah, yeah,
on the
yeah,
grid. I mean, I would be terrified as well.
yeah. You
So
just let him go. Just get out of
yes,
here.
it's
Just go.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But
You do the
Fernando,
wave
like,
like when you're like at a stop sign. Yeah, go ahead. It's okay.
yeah, just go.
You're good.
We're broken down here. Wave him through.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what else do we have? What else do we have for
For the weekend,
Suzuka?
for the Suzuka, the only other thing that I had is we found out where Max's mechanic went, because Max revealed it.
Yes.
But I was surprised. Like it was, everybody was talking about it. It was all over social media because he had made a post about it himself that he was leaving, and he'd been there
Hmm.
for 15 years, something like that. Maybe even longer. I don't even remember. Um, but then nobody said anything. Everybody's like, "Where's he gonna go? It's got the other end of the paddock. Is this gonna make a change for somebody?" And then nobody talked about it. I'm like, "What?" I was a little disappointed. But Max revealed it in an interview. He went to Sauber, so hopefully, as the chief, maybe it was all because of all their pit stop issues, but hopefully he can turn things around in that place, because they need
I
it.
mean,
They need it.
they need a lot of help.
Yeah.
Uh, but then it kind of makes you think, what was the money like to leave
Oh, it would have to
Red Bull?
be astronomical.
Well,
He
take
said he
that
was looking
money
for
and
like
put
a
it
He said he was looking for a challenge. Where else are you gonna get a bigger challenge as a mechanic than in Sauber? Maybe Williams, but
Alpine.
yeah. So there's just so many places they could go.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot
but
of
yeah,
places.
they must have just thrown a crap ton of money and just said, "Please help us."
Yeah,
Yeah. So
please,
that's the
please
only other
help.
thing I had was just where he went. So mystery solved.
Yeah, mystery solved. Case closed. All right. Well, we need to do our dirty
Fresh
air and
set of
our
the day
fresh
and our dirty air. Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds like we
My
haven't bathed in a while. Um,
my fresh set. I don't know what mine would be.
okay.
Carlos on a podium.
Okay. All right.
That's
Carlos on a podium and a Leclerc driver of the day, right?
that.
There you go.
That's all.
There you go.
That's all I need. That's all I need.
When I edit this, I'm just gonna whitewash your screen in red. I guess that's not a
That'd be
whitewash,
great.
but
That's a red
whatever.
wash.
Just wash your screen in red.
Yeah.
Um, Mine is going to be Yuki, but a very specific Yuki moment. So, did you
Oh,
see when he crossed the line? So, for anybody that
I
doesn't
was
know,
paying
is
attention.
when and I always wonder this when you're watching the leaderboards and you see the leader cross the finish line, gets the checkered flag. Everybody that he's lapped up to that point
Oh,
automatically
he
gets a checkered
Yuki
flag.
got the
So
yeah.
he was lapped up to Max, and he wasn't far behind Max. He was maybe a couple seconds behind Max.
Yeah.
So Max goes through, Checo goes through, and Yuki goes through, still a lap down, raising his hands up, and he's just cheering because he got his point. That was
I
it.
did see that
Checker
part.
flag, hands up. He said, "Forget the other last lap. Doesn't matter, anyways." But
No,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. He's
he was a
done.
lap down, and he's just cheering like he won a race, which good for him. You know, so that was
See, he
just
just
saying
wanted
F it,
to
and
he just wanted his hometown point.
and he got it,
I
and he got
He
it, and
got his
he
hometown.
celebrated epically. So yeah,
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah.
I'm sure he did.
So that was my fresh set of the day.
That was your fresh set.
Yeah.
Dirty air.
Oh.
I'm gonna say it's kind of the obvious one, but I'm gonna say the crash. The
Okay.
Ricardo and Albon. I just think Ricardo needs a race that he can one finish and two get in some points. Even if he gets 11th, no point, but like I just feel like he needs the confidence of getting finishing a race
Yeah.
and getting that high up. And I just
The Albon thing.
those the Albon thing, I just those two are like the worst two people to have hit each other. and been crashed out. So it just kind of sucks for both of them. So
Yeah.
that's my dirty air, I think.
Okay. It's a good one. I was thinking about that one, but I'm gonna go with 2 sex Bernie. Just that was my dirty air. Like, don't do that to Bernie. I don't need to
Don't you
hear. I
dare.
don't need to hear a dirty air. I don't need to hear a team radio about somebody complaining about somebody else not moving over for a blue flag or whatever the hell just crap it was. I don't even remember. Let her
Yeah.
do her job. That's more important than
Yeah.
Lewis telling
I
George,
agree.
you could just go. Actually, no, that was pretty important. But you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
That was a pretty
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
But yeah, no,
It's a good thing
I
he apologized. Otherwise, I'd have
did
been up in
apologize.
arms. Up in
Up
arms.
in arms about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do we have next? We have
We have a bye week. Not bye week. No race week this week.
we got a no race week this week.
Yes. So next week we will bring in you news.
News, games,
Possibly another little game. Little fun.
information.
Information. Yeah. Maybe
Although
Bernie. Who knows?
maybe
Maybe
Bernie.
maybe
We
she
will
hears that.
have
Who knows?
Bernie Collins. We're manifesting Bernie Collins.
Yeah, yeah. Don't take our word for it.
And she'll be sitting in Niagara Falls, Ontario, on
Yeah.
her bye week.
Yeah, just watching the eclipse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So after that, we are in China
Yes.
for our next race.
Another early one. I think it's 3:00 in the morning for us.
3 a.m.
Yeah. Which I said to you,
Nice.
why not just make it a night race? You do 7 p.m. there. It's good for them. I did say it to you, or did I say?
Yeah, no, you did.
I did say it to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't.
I know it's 7 p.m. for them. It could be like 6 in the morning for us. We're all good.
Yeah.
But no,
Would be, but no, they don't.
it's
care
not like they
about-
have like a billion people to watch this race.
It's just us two that are like, excuse me, can you make
cares?
this at a better time?
Yeah, exactly.
But all right, well, thanks for tuning in. You can always catch us on Instagram, Spotify.
We gotta
YouTube.
have like we gotta write this down.
We do need the list. Instagram, Spotify, YouTube,
X,
Apple Podcasts, X, Twitter, Amazon Music, wherever. We're around. We are Fresh Set Podcast on all of our socials, so you can find us there. Take a listen, follow, like, comment, subscribe. I don't know what else people.
And I don't think there is anything else like us out there that name, but if there is, it's always the thumbnail of us where Sabrina looks angry. Apparently, it's just it just always picks that one. It always picks that up.
Just
yeah,
yelling about. I don't know what I was yelling about, but
I don't even know if you were. It's just the unfortunate thumbnail.
That was like a blooper part that you were supposed to cut out. And it's me yelling about.
I like
something.
the bloopers. Yeah, it's all good.
We do need to do a blooper episode.
We will. It's
because there are a lot.
It's gonna be just us clapping and swearing and shit. This goddamn camera.
And dancing. Yeah, basically. Did you forget the camera again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we will see you next time.
Grab a fresh set.
Bye.